Welcome to the esteemed center stage with Global Thought Leaders, a Right Source Global initiative. I'm Ajuna Sharawat, Chief Anchor and Editor at Global Thought Leaders, and I will be your host today during this center stage interview. Global Thought Leaders is a platform where industry titans can share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices with one another and future leaders. We hope to bring together this global community of distinguished individuals by conducting these center stage interviews. Great leadership lessons benefit everyone when we can identify, nurture, and apply tricks of the trade that have proven to be successful formulae for many. In a nutshell, we seek to distill these industry leaders' multi-decadal learnings and establish a knowledge-sharing community. Falgun Bhupendra Shah, a seasoned industry expert, joins us on the center stage today. Falgun is a seasoned executive with more than 36 years of experience. He is Symphony Limited's CEO. He's a strategic planner and seasoned professional. Year after year, he has been successful in meeting operational, revenue, profit, and business growth goals. Falgun has consistently demonstrated his ability to create markets, improve operations, steer product design, and maximize profits through operational finance management, cost reductions, internal controls, and productivity improvements. Falgun previously worked for ATEC International and Princeware International. Welcome Falgun to center stage.
Thanks, Arjuna. Good morning to you and good morning to every participants. Thanks for a wonderful introduction.
Good morning, Falgun.
So as you introduced, currently I am holding P&L responsibility for international subsidiaries of Symphony Limited.
So you have been the CEO
Yes.
international subsidiaries with Symphony Limited for nearly a decade now.
Right.
Yeah. So we would like to know what have been some of your most important lessons as a leader of domestic and international subsidiaries.
Very good. So since I am with this role, so let me have a brief introduction to Symphony Limited, which is founded in 1988 in India, but by now it's become an Indian MNC because we have operational subsidiaries in 5 different countries, and in addition we have distribution network in more than 60 countries through distributors. So we are typically a single product but multi-market kind of business, and hence we have a complete and deep focus on the category. However, in individual subsidiary markets, we continue to operate in some other categories which are related to air coolers. Each of these subsidiaries, the way it functions, each of these individual subsidiaries have their own teams headed by the country head, and then I collaborate with each of those country heads, and I also collaborate with the HO in India. And the main thing that happens is, you end up in leveraging the synergies between the group companies and their core competencies. So I become a common communication thread amongst the group companies. In an individual capacity as a leader, I learned that I could achieve much better results by being a facilitator rather than a controller. So I sort of end up in always talking to everyone in subsidiaries or whoever reports to me that I am a facilitator, and I facilitate them to achieve their goals and to get to their results. While working with different entities and multiple entities, I also got an opportunity to work on different cultures, different core competencies, and this sort of overlaps over some of the central core competencies. So again, if you look at the growth the Symphony has made, it is through inorganic. So it is through acquisitions. So when there is an organic growth in any country, the company puts its own processes and culture and people But when there is an inorganic growth, the company inherits the basic company with its own team of people, its own core competency, and its own culture. So it becomes very much important to still remain, to let them remain within their core competencies and culture, and yet achieve the synergies at the group level. So that becomes the most important thing about the business style and this thing. So and since this is a P&L responsibility, one thing which every senior position person would learn is, although one may not have a financial background, but understanding the basics of finances becomes very important whenever you get into the P&L role. Although you have financial department and other functional heads to support you, but you still need to understand the financial analysis very well. And it is also important that you review the situation on an ongoing basis and pick up early warnings of what is likely to happen, and and how exactly we mitigate the situation, rather than reviewing the reports at the end of say quarter or at the end of month or anything. So it is a kind of dynamic situation to avoid a kind of reactive or responding method of working. Most importantly, wherever we have started working with, wherever we have associated, we always found that there is a lot of known value add processes in the business, be it in terms of the basic business processes or be in terms of the resources that is being allocated. So the identification of these known value add resources and or low value add resources and trying to eliminate them and reducing them provides the top line as well as bottom line growth in a simplest term. So the top line growth comes because, by reducing the non value added thing, you have better OTIF, better servicing, and at bottom, of course, you reduce a lot of costs. So with this basic thing, I'll sort of end my answer with one point at the end. The most important thing that one learns over this is that intangibles are very much important as against the tangibles. So most likely, whenever someone comes as a leader or manager, starts working on the tangibles, the cost and deliveries and customers and all these things. But what is more important is intangibles. That is really where the value lies. So there is this cost versus value thing. The costs are all tangibles. You can measure, you can analyze and all those things. However, the values are not tangibles. Values come through judgment, and judgment comes through experience. So getting the value, understanding the value, and working on the intangibles, like how the human relations will play, how the decisions will play irrespective of the financials. Those things become very much important as you grow in this kind of role.
Oh, this is Falgun, you have had tremendously successful career. What qualities do you deliberately cultivate to help you become as successful in your career as you have, as well as an incredible leader that you are? Please tell us about these qualities.
That's a very interesting point, because obviously anyone who comes to this kind of position has got the basic graduation and MBA and all those backgrounds and kind of experience in that. But you end up in learning a lot across as you travel in the journey. For me specifically, having come with the background of mechanical engineering, masters in mechanical engineering and an MBA in finance, I still had to cultivate a lot of things for this role, especially this being an international role. So one of the most important thing is, as I mentioned earlier, work with the financial numbers at ease. For any kind of capex investment decisions, it is very much important that we understand what would be the paybacks, what would be internal rates of returns, what would be the net positive value and present value, and these things are very much important. Unless those things are there, you cannot take a correct decision whether the capital has to be invested or not. Similarly, in any operational matters, it is very much important to understand how the contributions will come. So whether we make a new business category or new product category or expand to different market, or try to make a different arrangement for manufacturing or different location for manufacturing. All these decisions at the root lies how will it impact the contribution. So these are the important things, understanding which I cultivated and very much useful to me. One of the another intangible thing that I cultivated is that it's extremely important to have in time and clear, unambiguous communication across. Because working with multiple entities, you tend to have hundreds and hundreds of communications a day. And of course, one can always prioritize and answer only few of them. But it so happens that not communicating something in time amounts to someone not getting a guidance, or someone not getting an answer of what to do next. And there could be a lot of implications which we don't realize while sitting at one place. So making a very good communication, it must be precise, but it has to be detailed enough, because when you work with different geographies, different people, different culture, especially with different linguistic skills, it's very much important that you have a very clear communication of what you exactly are trying to explain and what exactly is your expectation from the other one. So this is something which has come over as a deliberate learning, because this is very important things which we often at times it so happens that you communicate something, it becomes so obvious to you that it is meaning like that, but the interpretation might have been little different. And by the end, after a week or so, you see something else has happened, and the person will say, okay, no, you said like this and I meant like this, and things like, even the words have different meanings, so sometimes you have to add pictures and graphics and all those things. So communication is a very important thing, although we learn a lot in our schooling and all, but I think that's something which is a deliberate thing which I had to actually learn, looking at the different geographies and environments. Secondly, very much important that for example, there are different people with different cultures. Australians are very rough, rude. Americans are very straightforward. The Chinese are different, so everyone is very different. You must be aligned to say exactly what you mean. One cannot be shy to say no, or shy to say that no, this is incorrect and this must be corrected like this. Cannot be too much shy on this, otherwise the things don't work. So talking straight, although it may be quite polite, but talking straight is very much important. That is something which needs to be cultivated. As an Indian, it doesn't come very natural. I mean, that's the way we are grown up. So that is something which you
Yes.
needs to cultivate when starts working in an international forum. Also, one thing which very consciously cultivated is transparency in everything. Works very well, although you don't need not communicate everything to everyone. It's like need basis communication, but it has to be transparent enough, because most of the times people are very happy even if they understand the situation better, and they probably help you better and support you better. So the transparency of information, data, position, even if you are going to have some big issue, it's better to be transparent rather than a person realizing at the end that, oh, it has become like this. So that is one thing which consciously cultivated. Another important thing is plenty of decisions have to be taken day in and day out. Now, usually, because you work with several levels of people, so there are functional teams, and many times better than that particular functional team. So you tend to give decision. Okay, this is like this. This is the solution. This is what you work. I have realized that it doesn't work. So, because unless the people, the functional people own the decisions or the solutions, it doesn't work very nicely. In fact, sometimes they try to implement as per that and try to prove at the end that, so no, this was not a correct solution, this was not a correct decision. So you end up wasting a lot of time, a lot of cost in doing so, although probably that was the best solution. So the great method that you have to involve everyone in making the decisions, although the decision may be still what we think is the best in the interest of the company, but make people take the decision by explaining the rationale, and by explaining that this is how it helps them to help the company, or to achieve the target. then we achieve the target and the chances are very good. So that is something which has been very consciously cultivated. It's like putting the total ego on one side, and getting the things done ultimately in the interest of the company. And probably one of the last thing that I would say that uh, when you get to the scale, when you have multiple things, the statistical techniques are must. I mean, when you are a small sphere of work, you can have 100% things known, 100% things measured, 100% things looked at, reviewed, and all these things. But when there is a scale, you must go to statistical techniques, be it the business processes or be it the quality of the product or quality of the delivery, quality of the service or whatever it is. So that is something which, although the basics are always learned in the school and colleges, but that was a conscious learning that had to be made to sort of arrive at the correct uh, decisions and flow of work.
That's amazing. You highlighted five major qualities which you deliberately cultivated. I would want you to just summarize it again because this was amazing. Starting from being clear with your communication, it's not easy. One has to continuously work on that. The communicate what you meant is actually understood. The second was not to shy away, like to be straightforward and say what you actually mean, not to hesitate.
Right.
Third one was being transparent.
The decisions, letting the people own the decisions rather than imposing the solutions and decisions.
Involve,
Even though that may take long time to arrive at the decisions,
yes,
but the final success is always better.
theirs as well. So they're involved as a team always. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these five important qualities which everyone needs to actually deliberately develop. And Falgun, you have extensive international experience and work closely with international subsidiaries. So, what are some of the challenges you have encountered while working with people from different cultures? And what have you learned that you use in your work in India? As you said, one of the thing was being straightforward. They come from different cultures, so you've inculcated, you've you've learned not to like be an Indian and shy away from not saying what is required. But then we'd like to know in more detail.
So, for example, when anyone travels for tourism to countries like Singapore or Dubai or any other good country just for tourism, uh, we keep everything clean because the environment is clean, and there is a penalty for this thing. So while we come back home, why shouldn't it be the same thing? So that is exactly what, when you see the things around, and you see that you have to respect people, you have to respect different things. Why not we do the similar thing at home when we are back? For example, in North America, there is a culture that, a Friday afternoon they will switch off their mobile and they will not share any of their personal numbers or any other thing. So weekend they are ruled out. Obviously, if you have something urgent, either you have resolved on by Friday afternoon or you start working on Monday. So there cannot be anything urgent. You have to work such that there is no urgency. Everything becomes done in time. Then why we have urgency in India that, we have to ask on Sunday or someone to come and then, operate something and this thing. So probably if we start respecting that, it helps here also. And I've seen that, the efficiency and other things also go down when this kind of things are. People do, as a boss says, people do work for 24/7 and 365 days, but the efficiencies go down. And respecting this. For example, when you go to China, the best of the companies and the senior most of the people, they take a nap after lunch. even in the office they will nap, and you cannot disturb them. That's just 1 hour, that's 1 hour just for them. But then after that hour they are highly productive. I mean, for whatever 8 hours they put in the office, the productivity is very high. So if you are okay with that, and you have to be okay with that because that's their culture. Then if someone requires a break in India, then why to shy away? But it's something, it's very nature. It's like respecting the human beings and allowing them to be more productive and more effective and more efficient. So that is that's as far as the soft part or soft skill is concerned. Apart from that, there are various business and technical things that I picked up while working with these environments. And there is a continuous, because in the business you have a lot of products and a lot of services and solutions that you offer to the end customers, and then you have multiple channels of business. You have distribution network, you go to modern trade, you go to online, and you have multiple channels and all. There are always a lot of situations in which you have to incur an expense, and you have to think whether that expense should be a fixed expense within the company, or it has to be a variable expense, so that incur only when a sale happens or something like that. So it's a fixed versus variable. That's a very, very dynamic dynamic decision, and it keeps varying with the situation. And and for example, there is a peak demand, seasonal demand, then it's better to have a variable cost system rather than a fixed cost. But if there is a continuous manufacturing process, maybe it's better to put a capex and put a fixed cost, and avoid the variable cost. So these learnings also help when you implement back in India, because the costs in India may not be that high, but still, once you start putting this into significance, the relevance comes. Second is sourcing exercise is very important, especially when it goes to global. I'll just give you one example that what happens. For example, last couple of 2 years back, the whole world got impacted by the COVID-19 and related situation. Commodities costs went up, the ocean freights went up, the ports were jammed, deliveries were not happening from one place to another. And prior to that, the situation was that, you manufacture in the low cost countries like India, Philippines, Vietnam, China, or Indonesia, and sell it to Australia, sell it to USA, sell it to Brazil, and things like that. Things have changed suddenly because the ocean freights are too high. Maybe it becomes better to manufacture locally in those countries, even though manufacturing costs are higher, but the freight costs become low. So that source changing is also very, very dynamic. It has so happened that some of our important product categories that we have catered for USA, we were earlier doing from our China subsidiary. Then suddenly, after Trump came and he increased a lot of import tariffs for products from China to USA, and then we decided and moved those production lines and manufacturing to India, and we started giving from India. Again, the freights have increased quite a lot, and now we have shifted those manufacturing lines to Mexico, so that we'll manufacture in Mexico and then supply to USA. Who knows, going further, something else might change, and we might shift once again. So this is a very, very dynamic situation. So the learning from that is that one cannot be just static that this is the way of process and this is how it happens. No, it is a very, very dynamic. It has to be explored every now and then, and has to be optimized every now and then. So talking about COVID, there are all these situations which can't be avoided. I mean, can't be even predicted. The best of the gurus never predicted all these things. Best of the rating agencies couldn't predict it. So you have to just stay with that and be responsive to what is the best. So agility becomes very important. How you respond to that, because you can't do anything to those kind of things. Black swan events, whatever we call it. We have to just respond in the best possible way and fastest possible way. So agility and getting aligned across the group companies. So agility alignment becomes very much important when we respond to this. So this was one more thing which was carried over here. And and also learn that even if the best you are taking best of the process and best of the decisions, you must have plan B. Even though you are 100% confident that this would work and nothing else is better, you must have a plan B, because something might go wrong, and if you are not prepared with plan B, probably you go back to square zero. So putting plan B on paper is always important. And one of the I will just end by saying that, one of the most important thing that was learned and which is implemented now is that keeping a robust processes is very much important rather than establishing just a control. That okay, say for example, if subsidiary there is a lot of purchase, millions of dollars of purchase, and we say now what we have done is we have got SAP platform across our subsidiaries, and there is a single version. So we have all the data of all the subsidiary companies and the group company in single server, and we can see anything from anyone. So one simple thing would be, if there is a purchase somewhere or there is sale somewhere, you just check whether sales price is right, purchase price right, put a team over here, monitor and ensure that, everything is under control. I've seen that doesn't work too much. What works is the robust processes, the processes which do not allow fault, processes which leads to optimization. So building robust processes, work processes, is more important. That is what back at home also we try and implement it. So these are the some of the points that thought of highlighting.
Again, amazing insights. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Now coming to Industrial Revolution 4.0, what do you expect from Industrial Revolution 4.0? What do you believe will be the most significant changes because of this?
Again, very interesting, because all earlier industrial revolutions, whether it was 1, 2, 3, impacted industries, whereas Industrial Revolution 4 impacts any business, whether they have manufacturing industry or not, because it cuts across all spheres of life. I mean, the initial industrial revolutions were more around mechanizing, electrifying, or provide or having computing facilities and those kind of things, and the internet to some extent. Now the things have, with Revolution 4, the things are drastically changed. Everyone is talking about, everyone is working towards Internet of Things, Internet of Machines. So the things are becoming live, machines are becoming communicative. So and there is a artificial intelligence built up in most of the applications, and there is a machine learning through which, those machines or equipment or app keeps learning more and more and becomes smarter and smarter day by day as they learn more. More is the data point, more they learn faster. So with this, a lot of changes are coming. I mean, one is, as far as the manufacturing is concerned, the industry is concerned, the supply chain is concerned, there is a lot of automation which is happening. Earlier, we used to think automation is robots, but it's not so. Automation is the machines themselves. For example, the driverless car is an automation. So what is getting avoided is the driver is getting avoided. Similarly, for machinery, or equipment, what is getting avoided is the operator. So then what is the role of people? So that's a very, very fundamental thing. When machines are becoming intelligent and capable of doing everything, and they are able to communicate with each other. For example, washing machine is able to communicate with the tap that, okay, my work is over, you can close the flow of water, and the things like that. So if these are the kind of things, and we are working on a lot of IoT for our products also. So what levels it can go to. I mean, the limit is the cost at present. The limit is not the thinking. I mean, we can do whatever we want. And now everything Alexa is able to do, and we sit in one corner, and we are also able to predict what is going to happen tomorrow in terms of weather, and what exactly should I wear tomorrow when I go to some place. So these kind of things, with this lot of machine or equipment, getting this kind of knowledge. So there is always a big question that is coming to everyone's mind: what will happen to us? What will happen to the people? What will happen to the operators? What will happen to the employees? And so one thing is for sure, the the machines, the robots, the equipment are going to get smarter and smarter. One thing which is differentiating between machine and humans, although, is the intelligence is quite possible to build in the machines, but consciousness is not something which will ever get into the machines. So that is going to be a fundamental difference between the machines and the humans. And if the humans have to then work coexist with the machines, the most important thing will be to work on the intangibles which I mentioned first. Something which doesn't come from the machine, which comes from judgment, from hunch feeling, from your experience. So intangibles, there will be a lot of upskilling and reskilling and probably unlearning required continuously by the people. For example, if we go 1 or 2 generations back, maybe completing the college education is good enough. Subsequently, then you have to keep working on 1 or 2 different professional courses every 2 years, every 3 years. That is going to become more and more frequent, because unless that is done, one will not be able to survive. So I think that is going to be a big implication in my understanding of this thing.
Falgun, we'd like to hear your thoughts as a corporate governance expert on how this knowledge will help you and others like you deal with the board level challenges in the future.
So obviously, anyone who comes to a senior role and starts handling P&L and is responsible to board, uh, gets some understanding of corporate governance and works with corporate governance. I was quite fortunate because I'm for a long duration I've been working with this company Symphony, founded by a gentleman whose parental business is real estate, and probably that is the only real estate company I have seen which does 100% transactions with check. So, I mean, the corporate governance is something which is a very, very key element in them, and that is what has imbibed into the senior team who has worked with them. So, I think I'm quite fortunate to do this. Also, since the time this particular company Symphony was founded, the whole premises was on working sustainable solutions and sustainable manufacturing. Even the word sustainability was not coined way back then. Sustainability word has come now after the Paris and just recently more for COP26 and all those words are being coined. But we have that sustainability concept. We have this carrying the society together concept. So there are a lot of these things. Also, the basics of this the community, Hindu and Jainism in particular, comes from saving everything, not even wasting a drop of water. Let apart the oil and other things, not even wasting a drop of water or electricity or any such thing. So I think those things have taken shape into this learning. I'll go to a point that we have this fortnightly top management review meetings, which is of course on a video, because there are all top level professionals from all the subsidiaries also joined in a common time, and that's for the business strategy kind of thing. So there are a few points which are discussed over there, but in that, two most important things which are discussed is the compliances status across globe. So we have our own compliance list everywhere, wherein the internal targets are stringent than the actual statutory targets. So we have to ensure that every compliance is as per the internal target. So the compliance is very, very, it's not just ticking, but it's something that is driven by this top management review committee. Another very much important thing is that every fortnightly we insist on getting account balance confirmations. That's very unique to this industry I have seen. So whether it is any supplier, any customer, any service provider, any agency, or anyone whom we have any kind of transaction, so we sort of exchange and confirm that okay, your accounts and our accounts are balanced, are confirming, and so there is no outstanding either way. I think these all have led to something which is the whole thinking about the corporate governance and also very clear and non-ambiguous disclosures. In fact, one of our annual report has been recognized as one of the has been awarded as one of the important annual reports published. So that kind of a disclosure. So having learned that, and the human rights, gender diversity, and everything is very well practiced, and we are not just we don't just tell that we have to do this. We are given this as a direction that this is something which you have to follow. Very clear cut policies on such things, whistleblower policy, the how to protect the whistleblower, and internal audits are very, very strong. So we just don't have this thing, but the internal audits are very strong. So one of my key function is, for example, every fortnightly I have to see if there are any additional internal audit observation, and if the earlier internal audit observations are completely addressed or not. So these are some of the very important things. Related party transactions, although there is no transactions with the directors, families, or etc., but they are related party in the sense that subsidiaries are related parties. So we have a lot of businesses happening from, say, India to Mexico, from Australia to India, from China to Australia, and a lot of cross-country things. So we have to see that everything happens at arm's length. So we have got transfer pricing norms and everything worked out with the help of whether it is KPMG or PwC or whatever. So we have all those things in place, and we continuously keep on monitoring those. So all these things is very much important, imbibed, and probably. As I understand more from the people now, I've been interacting. Is that going forth? What will be important, even if there is a role in any other company for providing this kind of a role? So, what will be very much important to have the independence of the function, so that all these parameters can be judged properly and can be monitored.
Yeah, absolutely. And hearing from you, I feel that Symphony is a company which actually can be taken as an example for how a good corporate governance, like as an example for expertise in corporate governance.
Yes, for sure, and I'm fortunate to have spent time with that. In fact, I am Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore. I have done some case studies on Symphony for this particular thing, and
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it's the way it is.
Falgun, now like coming to the end of the conversation, this beautiful and insightful conversation, we would like to know that from you actually. We have been building this global thought leaders community for cross pollination of knowledge and a community of global directors for having better corporate governance in the country. So we would like to know what are your thoughts about these
Thanks.
initiatives.
I think this is a wonderful initiative, and I'm glad that I came across this. It's a wonderful initiative. Cross pollination is a very important concept which you talked about, because what happens is that this is a vast field with lot of things happening around, lot of macroeconomical, political, geo factors affecting the businesses and the way the businesses get governed. Lot of new sustainability and other nuances get into picture as the societies change. It is impossible for any single person to be on the top of everything. So, the idea of cross pollination is a wonderful idea, and that can only happen if there is a kind of formation which is done. And I think this is a wonderful formation. It's a kind of there are these quality circles and business circles which help people to to share ideas with each other. There is a kind of forum, and where people cross pollinate the knowledge and learn from each other. I think going further, what is also probably going to be important is whenever there is role of anyone in any company to help as an independent director, the the independence is always under pressure, and that is where sharing, cross pollination, and an association like this can be extremely helpful for generating better corporate governance across rather than just in one or two companies. I believe this is a wonderful initiative.
Thank you, Falgun. The conversation with you has been fantastic and heartfelt. I really feel enlightened and humbled. I'm confident that your insights will inspire the next generation of leaders. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Thank you for joining us on today's call for Global Thought Leaders. Have a fantastic day.